Hello the internet, my name's Laura, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a bit of propagating. That's right, I am finally getting around to starting my begonia propagations that I've been wanting to do. I've been putting it off because I don't know. I've been putting it off for a little while, not sure why, I guess I just didn't want to have to it felt like a daunting task. I don't know why, because I like propagating begonias, but for some reason I don't know. Anyway, we're going to do that today. So I had been thinking about a couple of different ways to do this, and one of them was that I had gotten all of these little takeout containers, and I was thinking of doing them like that, but then I remembered that I had this guy, which is an old, basically it is a propagating tray. Normally you start seeds in this. It's but it's, because it's much larger, I don't have to fiddle around with a whole bunch of little containers like this necessarily. And then because it's got the lid, the fact that it's got more surface area isn't going to make it dry out any faster because the lid's going to keep a lot of the humidity in there. So I went out but because I'm using a larger tray, I actually went out and bought some new things. I got sphagnum peat moss, Miracle Grow. Oh, this actually does have fertilizer in it. Okay, so this would not be a good idea for using with my carnivorous plants, which I actually was planning on, but if it's got fertilizer in it, that means I do not want to use it for my carnivorous plants. But in propagating, that's perfectly fine. A little fertilizer is not going to hurt anything. I also got long fibered sphagnum moss because I'm kind of running low on sphagnum moss. I use it in a lot of things. And so I just went ahead and got this. And what I'm planning on doing, and this thing is actually a lot dirtier than I thought it was. That's okay. What I'm planning on doing is putting down a layer of the peat moss on the bottom. And then I'm going to put some sphagnum moss on the top, and then I'm going to put my begonia propagations into that. So let's go ahead and get you angled. Okay. There we go. There we go. I angled down so you guys can see this. Ugh. Yeah, my husband looked at this. I was buying the sphagnum moss, and then I grabbed the peat moss thing, and he was like, "That says sphagnum peat moss. Do you really want both?" And I was like, "They technically do different things. This must just have sphagnum moss in it. But it's definitely very finely chopped up. As you can see, it's not it's not visibly obvious that there is sphagnum moss in there, but okay. So just a little thin layer. And I don't want to make this too damp. I'm trying to figure out the best way to... If I spray it with a spray bottle, I feel like it's not going to get very wet. Oh no, that's actually not bad. Okay. Okay, that's kind of nice and wet without being really wet, which I'm happy with. Okay, and then easy open and close lift here. A piece of cardboard. Sure, why not? All right, and then we're okay, and all right, so now I have my little tray. How much space am I gonna have in here? Okay, that's a pretty decent amount of space above that. Okay, So now I need to decide which of my begonias I am going to stick in here and propagate. I actually tried to propagate my begonia griffin again. I accidentally snapped off one of the leaves, and I did it and I put it in the sphagnum moss, and it started molding, which is actually the exact same thing that happened when I tried to propagate it. Back when I originally got it, a whole bunch of the leaves kind of fell off in transit. So I was like, why don't I try and propagate these? And all of those molded as well. So I don't know if it's something in particular with that type of begonia, or if there's just something on the leaves of that particular begonia that like kind of means that it's gonna mold like that. So I'm definitely not gonna be putting any begonia griffin propagations in here because I don't want that mold to accidentally like spread and kill my other propagations. So we're going to skip that one for right now. But I am probably gonna end up doing some of most everything else. So we're gonna start, I think, with the taconite that's over here. Are you really? It's got roots coming out of the bottom of it already. I guess it is a pretty large plant. Okay, so when you are looking for a good leaf to propagate, you generally want a nice healthy leaf. You generally want an older leaf as opposed to one that's still kind of growing in, and like this one here hasn't even hardened yet. It's still kind of small, and it's okay if it's a little bit damaged, because let's be honest, damaged leaves are ugly. They're just not as pretty as leaves without any damage on them. So assuming that the leaf is not ripped like really to a bad state, go ahead and choose a large leaf. This is the one that I'm looking at right here. It's got a little bit of damage there. It's got a little bit of dried on the end, but there's plenty of plant here that is like healthy, or plenty of leaf, sorry, that's healthy there. And so what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna go as close to the base of the plant as you can get safely, and then go ahead and snip it off. Okay. And so now you've got your leaf, you've got your stem. It is possible to take this entire leaf and stick it into water, and you will get, it'll start growing from the end of the stem. From my experience, that took a lot longer, and you generally only get like one plant from the end. Whereas if you take the leaf, what we're going to do in a moment is cut all around the stem on the leaf. Each of these little veins that are on the plant can turn into its own little plant. And so you'll generally end up getting something, getting more plants if you end up using it like this. And it occurs to me that I did not. Okay, so you want your scissors. I used it to cut the plant there, but anyway, what you're gonna do, I wonder if we can, is I'm just gonna cut right around the stem, right through the veins. And so what I'm left with is the little center part there, and I'm left with a leaf that looks like that. I'm trying to see if you guys can actually see. Okay, there we go. So you've got all of these veins now exposed to the air. And then I'm gonna go down here. I know I've got all this stuff here. And we are going to set this into our wet media, which is our sphagnum moss. My camera is being a little difficult today. I'm going to set that into our wet media. I think I'm going to have to make it a little wetter because now it's not feeling as wet as I kind of want it to. And so that's going to sit in there, and then inside there where the leaves are, where the veins on the leaf are under there, that's where the little baby plant should grow out of. You do not need a leaf of this size, like if you have a smaller begonia, and I'll show you because some of my begonias are not quite this big. This one just happens to have a really big leaf on it. I'm actually going to... This is a tiny little leaf on the taconite that's actually been tiny for a really long time. So I think it might have been one of the younger leaves that was on there. And I'm going to go ahead and prep this one too. The exact same way, where I'm just going to cut around this where the stem attaches to the leaf. All right, like so. And I'm going to stick him in here right next to the other one because that works for me. And we're going to make sure that it's nice and wet. And because obviously you don't necessarily want to put all your eggs in one basket, as it were. It might happen that for some reason that I can in no way predict or control, this leaf will just catch a bacteria, it will start rotting, it will shrivel up and die, and then, however long it takes for it to do that, then I've lost that much time on my propagating. So, if you have the option, you want to try and do a couple of propagations. That way, if one of them ends up not working, you've got a backup. The thing that I actually have also been doing is taking these stems, like whenever I have these stems left over, and just sticking them in water. Because like I said, even though I find that it takes longer and I only get one plant is more than no plants. So these guys are going to go in water as well, and then we'll see if something happens. If it does, and because I didn't think it was going to work because it's got so little leaf on there, but I've had some success with it. Not a ton, but some. Again, it's just kind of down to, sometimes propagation is just the luck of the draw. It's just whether or not you manage to get the plant to propagate. Okay. All right, so obviously I'm coming back to my Begonia Breakdance because I would like to have some more of these. And I've had my eye on a particular leaf for a while. This is one of the original leaves that was on here, and it has lost its tip. And so it is not as beautiful as the rest of them. I know. But for the most part, this guy's got so many leaves. I could use one of these smaller leaves. Actually, I think I might. I think I'm going to use another, again, like with this one, I'm going to take one of the big leaves and I'm going to take one of the smaller leaves because it's got so many in here, I don't think it's really going to matter. I just want to make sure that I take one that's already hardened. So, okay, so we're going to go ahead and cut this. Okay, so there's that leaf, and I think I'm going to choose, okay, so I have one smaller leaf and one larger leaf. Part of this is just an experiment to myself. I want to see if perhaps the smaller leaves do better, or if the bigger leaves do better or faster or something like that. I don't know. Okay, now, so the taconite is a Rex begonia. And the Begonia Breakdance is an eyelash begonia, and as you can see, it doesn't just come up into a simple spot, like the veins actually go all the way out here. Another thing that I've noticed with these eyelash begonias, because they're so like curled and like twisted in on themselves that when I cut this, more than likely the leaf itself is gonna rip, just because it can't really lay flat. And it's just gonna happen. But I am going to cut all the way around, so you can see that the inside of it comes all the way down to here. I'm gonna cut all the way around and through there and then down onto the sides, because I wanna make sure that I get all of the stem out. And then I just have the veins. Oop, and there it went and it ripped. So I'm actually going to go ahead and cut the rest of that off there. And even though this is ripped, that's a perfectly viable piece of leaf that can propagate as well, because it's got, as you can see, it still has the little veins on there. So we are going to go ahead and stick that in here with the rest of them, and it's just going to be its own little leaf. And then I've got this big leaf like this, where it actually managed to stay together pretty well, which the last time I did this it did not. I ended up with 2 or 3 different pieces. I guess I ended up with 2 pieces, but the last time I did it they were larger pieces. So we're gonna, oh, you guys can't see, sorry. Okay, so I put the tiny little leaf there. Yeah, you can kind of see it. And then I'm gonna stick this one in here, kind of next to the begonia taconite that's right there. And put some of this on the top of there, but not blocking the other leaf, because you still want the leaves to be able to get their own light, right? Because they're still, I mean, they're still plants. They're just plants that aren't necessarily connected to a root system anymore. And then I've got my little baby leaf. This is the little leaf that I cut off, and so now I'm gonna have 3 of these, which is perfectly fine. And we're gonna cut around there. And I ended up with 2 pieces again. This one's only got 1 vein on it. I'm still gonna stick it in there. And then we've got our actual leaf that I was planning on getting. So we're just gonna stick him there. The important part is that your veins are close to or in contact with the wet media, right? Because that's how it's going to keep the leaf from drying out. And then the little root, that's where the little roots are going to come out of. They're going to come out of those little veins. Okay, so that was that one. I'm interested in, this is the Madame O'Reilly that I just got. I'm interested in doing some propagations of this one, but a lot of these leaves got crispy probably because they were used to a certain humidity at Steve's leaves, and then now they're here and the humidity is different, the conditions are different, and so some of them have gotten a little crispy. All the new leaves that are coming out in the middle are fine and healthy, but these outer leaves have gotten a little crispy. So I want to find, but I don't want to mess with the new leaves. So I'm going to find the outer leaves that I am the most happy with. I might end up only doing 1 of these because, yeah, these outer leaves are all pretty crispy. We're going to go ahead and do this one. Okay, so this is an eyelash begonia, but it has the, you know, the single point of entry on the leaf like a Rex begonia has. And so I'm just going to cut right around that. And yes, the outside of this leaf is crispy. I don't know how that's going to affect things. Usually when you do this, you want to have as healthy a leaves as you possibly can. But since I don't have any healthy leaves that I can use right now, I'm using an unhealthy leaf, and I'm going to see what happens because, you know, experiment. Sure, why not? It might be perfectly fine. But like I said, I'm only going to do one of this for right now because I don't want to stress out this plant too much. You know, be aware that when you're taking leaves off, you do stress the plant out a little bit. When they have a bunch of leaves like this, it's probably no big deal. But if you came and took like a whole bunch of it off of this, you can shock the plant. So just be aware of that. All right, so next I'm going to do my Peter Piper. And I've got plenty of good leaves on this guy to choose from. This is kind of all over the place. I think it wants more sun than it's getting, but I can only do so much about that. Maybe I'll try and put it outside at some point. So, all right, I'm just gonna choose a leaf like that. Do I want to do 2 of this? I probably do. What's another leaf that, oh, I like the coloring on that. That's the other thing, is like, you kind of want to take a nice looking leaf, but at the same time you want to keep the nice looking leaves on your plant. So sometimes it can be a little difficult because you're like, well, that one's so pretty, I don't want to take it. Oh man, some of these are really gorgeous. Oh, look at that. Look at that, isn't it beautiful? It is. Okay, Laura, you're just gonna have to choose another one. Okay, we're taking this one. Okay, snip. Okay, so I've got all of what I'm going to do in here done. Got some Taconites, Breakdance. These are the Peter Pipers. There's one Madame O'Reilly. Not sure how that one's going to do. I got a Rajathornis. I got some, this is the Ben's Halloween. Some of what I call Raspberry Swirl. I'm not sure if that's actually what this is, but that's just what I'm calling it. Okay, those are both Brad's Halloween. And then this is a Deco Daddy. And then as you can see, I took all of the stems, and the bigger ones are in there and the littler ones are in here. And, you know, we'll see what happens with those. But I am going to go ahead and put my little lid on this guy, like so. And then it can start building up the humidity in there. And I'm going to put it down over here. You can see me pointing on the little bottom shelf there where I have a new grow light under there. So that's where I'm going to put that. So it's got its light that it needs, but it is also out of the way, because one of the things with propagations is that it just takes a really long time. And you can drive yourself insane by like checking on the plants every day, you know, and all this kind of stuff. So as long as you have your propagations in a situation where, you know, like this, I'm going to have to top off the water, like these little guys. But if you have it in a situation where it's going to stay relatively moist and like without you doing anything with it, the best thing that you can do for yourself is just leave it alone. When I did my first round of propagations in my little jar, or my little glass terrarium, I mean, it was like a month before I was really seeing anything. And then obviously even longer than that before the plants got to any kind of size, and even longer than that before I could actually take them out of there and transplant it. So it's really just a lot of a waiting game. Obviously different plants are going to propagate at different speeds. Tridoscanthia, like, they shoot out roots like that. If you're going to do something that has a node that has like aerial roots, that's going to propagate a lot more quickly than something like these leaf propagations where they basically have to grow the whole plant, you know, like if there's already aerial roots there, then they just grow the roots and then they've got the plant. These leaf propagations, the whole plant has to come out, and different plants are going to have different speeds that they grow at, because plants have different speeds that they grow at. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to note the day that I have done this somewhere, I mean, I guess this video, technically the timestamp on this video can show me when and then I'm going to check this I want to say every week, but probably nothing is going to happen for the first little bit. So it might be every 2 weeks until we start seeing some growth, and then, you know, I'll do it more often. Just to kind of give you guys an idea of how really it looks as things are propagating. And hopefully, all the plants don't die. I know, it would really stink if I just kind of failed at all of them. But there's enough of them here that I'm not really expecting that. So this is going to be me signing off for now. I am not doing an outro because this video isn't over. But I'm going to be back and I'm going to show you guys the progress. It's going to be seconds for you, even though it is weeks for me. I will wait. Okay, so see you guys in a couple seconds. All right, it is September 7th, and I'm going to check in here. I'm unlikely that anything has happened, growth-wise. Oop. Okay, so doesn't look like anything is rotting. Pretty sure that leaf was already damaged a little bit before I put it in there. Though it is not down in the sphagnum moss as much as I'd want it to be. So let's stick it down in there a little bit better. Get something wet going. No, this leaf's doing a little rough. Getting a little yucky on the edge. There's a little yucky on the edge there. The rest of them are looking pretty okay. And like I said, there's not really much happening yet, if anything. Looking down under there. Nope, no growth. So, obviously, we're just going to kind of leave these alone for more longer time, because that is obviously what needs to happen. And then we'll just have to, if these ones end up rotting a little bit too much, I might have to take some action on that, but right now it's not too bad. So, okay, so that is your update. And here is the update for this week. I think I'm a little late. I'm going to put the date on the thing, but this leaf kind of went all yellow. But as you can see, if you look really down in here, we've got a whole bunch of roots. Oh, this one, isn't that interesting? The roots are coming up all along this vein. See? Those are all roots trying to come out there, and they're all up in the moss there. We've got some nice roots coming out here, down in there. Some roots on that one. Some down in there. Oh, there's a little wormy. I don't know if you're a good wormy or a bad wormy, but I'm going to squish you. I know you guys are going to tell me that was somehow a good wormy. That's okay. This one's got, okay, that one's got a tiny little bit. This one has a tiny little bit of roots under there. I had to like go looking for it. This one might just be slightly slower at growing. I'm not seeing any on. No, there's a little bit. There's a little bit right down in there on that one. Let's see if this one's got some tiny little roots there. Oh, this one's got it coming out on top of the leaf here. That's what the humid environment is doing, and there's some really good ones in there. That one's got some growing, and that one's got some going. All right, so it looks like, oh, how about this one? Because this leaf is looking really rough. The leaf is looking really rough, but there's some roots going in there, so we'll see. So yeah, looks like roots are growing at this point pretty well. But I'm not seeing any like leaf growingness yet. So we might still have a little ways for that. That's fine. So there is this week's update. Alright, well I opened this up today, and this is what I saw. And going back and looking at the old video, it looks like that was starting when I saw it on Sunday, and I just missed it. I was too focused on the roots. There are more of those little white worms all in here. And there are a ton of little gnat buggy things. So I sprayed neem oil in here, and I'm considering now having to pull all these guys out of here because this thing is just basically infested, and like there's webbing on the moss. And I mean, looking at this now, this doesn't even look like sphagnum moss. I mean, it kind of does, but not really. So I'm wondering if this was another case of people selling stuff as sphagnum moss that isn't actually sphagnum moss. And I'm just a little upset. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to continue propagating the ones that haven't the stuff that hasn't completely rotted away. Because some of this stuff is still fine, but I don't know. I'm kind of upset that I didn't catch it before, but I don't know. Alright, well, we live and we learn. And so I'm going to be doing some stuff with this, and then I will let you guys know. So, okay, so I pulled out that leaf that was rotting. I put the little bits that have roots in this little container here. That I'm going to try and propagate those all in, and I mixed them in. I rinsed them all off in a mixture of hydrochloric acid and water, and then I rinsed them completely off with water. So I'm hoping that any bugs or bug eggs or bacteria or whatever that were on it will die. And then those are all separate. And then looking at this after I sprayed the neem oil, I'm not seeing any of the bugs or the worms anymore. So I'm hoping... Oh, no, never mind, there's a worm. Okay, so... I don't have the resources to put these in all their own little cases. And so I'm going to leave this, and I'm going to check back on it like every day or so. And I might not film all of that, but I'm going to check back on it every day. And if the bugs and the worms look like they're still there, even with the neem oil spray, then I'll figure something out. Like, I might have to... I mean, I guess one option is to completely remove all of this and then redo it with, like, fresh stuff or whatever. But I don't have time for that right now. So, like I said, I'm going to keep an eye on it for a day or two. Or longer, obviously. And see if anything else happens. And if it doesn't... Because everything else looks pretty healthy. And I really think it was just those worms that were eating the one plant. And so if the worms are all dead, the fungus gnat shouldn't hurt anything. So this is what I'm going to do for now. If I see more of the worms, I will kill them. And if I see too many of the worms, then I'll figure something else out. But, this is just part of planting is, having stuff happen and then having to deal with it. So... we'll see what happens. I'm going to put the lid back on and get this back in its little spot. And then we're going to go from there. Okay? Okay, so it looks like the little bits of Begonia Breakdance that I had to put in here are doing really well. They've really started to put out some leaves now. That one's got some really large leaves on it. Maybe because it's attached to a whole big thing. And then these guys are obviously putting out some little leaves. So that's cool. And then... and this has just started going pretty crazy. So some of these have, just little baby leaves growing out. Little baby leaves. Oh, this guy looks like he's doing kind of bad. You got anything going for you? You got some roots. No leaves yet, but yeah, it looks like the worms are getting to this one now. Oh, and maybe that one a little bit there too. Over there on the side, but this one's got roots but no leaves. That one's starting to put out some leaves there. This one's putting out a number of leaves. So that's doing really, really well. I think this one, can't even tell. It looks like it may have died. Let me see if I can get some light on this. Yeah, looks like that one is not. I thought it had some roots, but it looks like it has bought the farm there. That's kind of a shame, but and then the taconite has gone absolutely ridiculous. It has gone crazy, and yeah, I thought so. And there's some coming up on the other side too, which can't even get to any light because this leaf is so big, and then even this little leaf here has gotten some big ones going on there. Are you? Oh, you're rooted in there. Huh. Okay, cool. Keep on keeping on then. Oh no, it does have, this guy does have some little leaves growing in there. It's not very fast nor very many. So we'll have to see whether he wins or the worms win, because I don't, we might have to do something about that. But it looks like we're getting some real growth here now. Some real growth in some instances, but this is just, different plants are going to grow at different rates. It can even have to do with the health of the leaf. It can have to do with the species of the plant. It can have to do with, all kinds of stuff. So we are doing pretty good though. I'm really excited about this Rajathornis though. It's a really pretty plant. And the pink curl, I'm really happy about that too. Or not pink curl, I call it raspberry swirl. I don't know what it actually is, but the plant that I have, I underwatered it a little bit and it's looking a little rough, so it'd be really nice if I could, that I have these backup plants just in case something happens to that one. I think it's going to be fine, but you never know. Sometimes a plant just dies. It's really a shame. Anyway, so that is our update for now. So I was redoing the water on my begonia propagations that I have, and I pulled out this stem, which I'm pretty sure is a taconite. And it has got some pretty decent roots on it. Not, there's some that have a little bit more there, but it has some roots. But then I noticed that it actually has leaves growing out of the top of the leaf. This thing has not been in water. I mean, the bottom of it obviously has been in water, but the top of it has not been in water. And yet, it is most definitely growing from the top of this stalk. Bizarre. I don't even know. But those are little tiny leaves coming in up there. I guess we'll see what he ends up doing. Well, I am taping this outside because literally there are so many fungus gnats in here that I didn't even want to open it inside my house. I'm not exactly sure why there are so many fungus gnats, but there are a ton. And so I'm kind of letting them, luckily it's not too cold out today, so I'm just kind of letting the fungus gnats fly out. And yeah, anyway, so we're doing actually pretty good. The taconite, so these two leaves were the begonia taconite, and they have obviously been doing crazy. And then I just saw they're coming out under there too. So this one leaf has done pretty crazy, and then this one leaf, which is obviously much smaller, has also done very, very well. It doesn't look like there's anything underneath there. This is the begonia leaf that I cut off and then stuck back in here. Sorry, I'm looking at it off camera. It's grown a couple of roots, but that one hasn't been going as long as the others because it was part of a bigger leaf and then I kind of cut it off. Let's see, this is a Brad's Halloween. And it's actually still pretty small, all things considered. Then I think this is also a Brad's Halloween. And this one I don't think is... Yeah, that one really didn't do anything. It doesn't even have any roots on it. So I'm not sure what's up with that one, but we're just going to get rid of that. Toss it out because we're outside. I've got two of the begonia that I call raspberry swirl that I'm pretty sure are not actually raspberry swirl. And both of them are growing a little bit under there, a little bit over here. This one obviously has grown a lot more. And then we have, is this I think I did 3 Brad's Halloweens? Did I do 3? That's a Brad, I know that's a Brad's Halloween. Maybe one of these was, no, I think these are all Brad's Halloween. Okay, so 3 Brad's Halloweens, they're all doing pretty well. I have my Deco Daddy here that it's rooted, but it's really not growing any leaves. You can see the little nodes where it kind of wants to, but the leaf has also kind of been attacked a little bit. I'm possible I'll move that guy somewhere else so that he can be... I don't know if these fungus gnats are doing any damage or not, but I don't know. I'm just unhappy. And this, the Raja Thornus, is actually doing pretty well. It really wasn't doing anything for a long time, and then now it's really kind of shot up. So obviously the the Taconite's going to need to be repotted because it almost doesn't fit under the dome anymore. And then some of these other ones, I'm going to have to do something because I can't handle all these freaking fungus gnats. Luckily, I think they're pretty trapped under the dome while it's closed, but you know, there's just a lot of them in there, and I don't know whether it's from the sphagnum moss or the peat that I put under here. This is obviously Miracle Grow, and people are like, oh, Miracle Grow has lots of fungus gnats in it. Maybe it actually does. But I've never had this kind of a problem with fungus gnats before, so I'm not exactly sure. Maybe it's just the high humidity that's making them super happy. Anyway, that is the update for now. I might do a video where I move these guys, you know, into their own pots, because at this point they're basically grown-up plants, and we'll see what happens. Okay. So you guys have seen that the begonias have been getting very, very big, and the taconite needs to be repotted. So I figured that I would show you like how I pull those out of the sphagnum moss and pot those up, and what I do with them in order to take a begonia out of the propagation and put it into like an actual pot. That's what I'm going to do today. We're going to see if we can not die to all the fungus gnats. Okay, so like I had said, or I've been saying, I've been having trouble with fungus gnats in this container. I don't know why. It could be the Miracle Grow peat moss that I put in here. But either way, there's fungus gnats in here, but and they're going everywhere. It's too cold outside today to take the plants out there, so I just kind of have to live with it. Luckily, I have my little Drosera. My butterwort's kind of out of commission right now, but I at least have the Drosera. Okay, so. Alright, we're going to show you guys. Here's my propagation tray. So, been doing pretty good. Like I said, I have to do this because these taconites are just huge. I'm probably going to turn that into 2 different plants because we've got the ones that are coming from under here and the ones there, and then this one will all be one plant here. And then I've got my Brad's Halloween, my Pink Swirl, my Daejathornis, and I'm not sure, I feel like, yeah, this Deco Daddy is really trying to do something. It's just doing it very, very slowly, so that one might need a little more help. So these ones are definitely big enough to propagate. It kind of comes down to, when you remove your propagations from the tray is going to kind of come down to your best feel. For the most part, if they're thriving, there's really no reason to pull them out until, like with this one, they're getting too big to even be in the propagation tray anymore, right? This one I want to mess around with because I'm tired of these fungus gnats. I wanted to get these guys. So what I might actually do is pull these guys out and then put them into a new tray that doesn't have any of the peat moss in here. Because what I did was I put down a layer of peat moss, the Miracle Grow peat moss, and then I put the sphagnum moss over top of it because, I just wanted there to be like some soil, some substrate down there for it, and I think that is where all of the fungus gnats have come from. I don't know for sure, but that's what I'm assuming. And so I figure if I get rid of that and move these guys into some other stuff, I might be able to get rid of the fungus gnat problem. But anyway, for right now, we are going to be moving these taconites. And I don't have any more really small pots because I don't have enough really small pots. But no, that should be okay. I've got these guys, which are about the right size. If you ever do end up with too much, or if you ever end up needing to repot something and you don't have a pot that is the right size, you can put it into a pot that's bigger, obviously, but what you need to do is be very, very careful about how much water you give to it. Because the plant's only going to be so big, so it's only going to suck up so much of the water, which means the soil is going to stay wetter for longer. And even plants like begonias who really like that, my cats are walking around. Even the plants who like that extra moisture, do not want to just be sitting in sopping wet soil. So I'm going to do these, and then I'm just going to have to be careful about how much I water them for a while, and then, they'll eventually grow bigger and be awesome, and, yeah, I really need to get them out of here. I don't know if the fungus gnats are doing damage or not, but something's eating my plants in here. There might be, like, other stuff. I made this whole, like, ecosystem, and now I'm going to break the ecosystem. Okay, so, what do I have? Yeah, oh, these are so big. Oh, these are so big. What if I have anything I can steal? Whoop! That pot went that way. It's gone forever. So you are going to go in here, I think. All right, so. All right, so what you do is you remember that all the little roots have kind of embedded themselves in the sphagnum moss, right? Because all the roots have grown down just like this with soil. And so, as you can see, and then, as you can see, because it's so humid in there, I've got roots going like all on the top of the leaf there too. So what we're doing is I'm pulling very gently away any of the extra sphagnum moss. You obviously don't want to disturb the roots too much, So, you know, just the stuff that kind of comes away with like a slight tug. And so I'm going to leave all the rest of that on there, right? All right, so I actually do need more soil on here. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and stick him in here. And we're going to do our best to cover up. And yes, if you're leaving some sphagnum moss in there and you're leaving some of, you know, whatever your potting meat or your propagation media is, that's fine. Oh, I didn't mean to put that in there. I don't know why I put that in there. That's so weird. But yeah, so I want to tuck in. Some of these roots are going to be out. That's how it is. But for the most part, you want to cover up all of the roots. You know, tuck them in there real nice. I don't want to bury the plant too deep, right? Because where, you know, it's coming out of the soil, you don't want to put the soil like up here on the stems, right? Because that could kill the plant. So you're just gonna put it in there, get the roots on, you know, down under the soil if you possibly can, as much as you possibly can, and then that's gonna be how that guy is. Perfect. All right, and this one's gonna be a little more interesting because I'm gonna have to pull this apart because I mean, I guess I could, if I wanted to, I could take this whole taconite and just stick it into a pot, and it could be like a huge taconite. But truthfully, I'd rather have it be two, because then I can give it to two people as opposed to only one person. Because see, this whole thing is just a thing. Okay. What I want to do is split it. We're going to see how viable that is. Because obviously both of these are coming off of the same, or all of these are coming off the same leaf. And they come out of the leaf, but they don't need the leaf after a certain point. Okay, so we're just ripping the leaf away at this point because we do not need the leaf any longer. And technically, if you do this, you can, because that leaf even still has a lot of roots on it like that. You can stick those back in your propagation tray and like, it'll grow more plants eventually. I did that with my begonia breakdance. Okay, I did snap some of those. Okay, so that, unfortunately, oh no, that's still got roots on it. Okay. But if I stick that in water, because it's got the little roots on the end of it, that might be okay. So I'm going to try that, but the rest of these I'm going to go ahead and, that's all going to be one plant. We're just going to get a little more of this sphagnum moss away from here. Okay, so that's going to be a plant, and that's going to be a plant. Down in there. And even if I hadn't have pulled that leaf away, generally those leaves just die back on their own anyway. You know, it takes a variable amount of time, but eventually the plant is the plant and it does not need that leaf anymore. So there's a lot of sphagnum moss all up on this one. Yeah. Okay, well, that's all in there pretty well. So, and the sphagnum, and you have to remember, if you put a lot of the sphagnum moss in there with it, the sphagnum moss is going to hold on to water as well. So, if you don't normally put sphagnum moss into your soil, you now have some extra water retention because you have sphagnum moss in your soil. All right, so there we go. Those are my 3 guys that I got from there. And then, so these, gosh, I don't even, I do not have a lot of space. I'm gonna have to figure out where all these guys are gonna go. So right now, you can go down here. My plan is to hopefully, you know, like trade some of these and either, you know, get some other plants possibly. And now I have my 3 little trays filled with sphagnum moss. These are actually takeout containers that I have repurposed because we're getting so much takeout right now with the pandemic. So I figured, why the heck not? And they work really nice. You know, you obviously wash them out and make sure they're nice and clean and stuff before you put your plants in there. But, okay, so these, so that I can move this back over. Alright, so basically all that I'm doing right now is I'm going to transfer these guys into there because, like I said, I want to get rid of the peat moss as much as possible. And if there's any chance that moving these guys is going to be detrimental, but I got to get rid of these fungus gnats. So, and truthfully, except for like this one, you know, they're big enough to really they're not like super delicate anymore at this point. So, you know, they're not delicate, but they're, oh, I'm sorry, you guys can't really see, but anyway, I put the Rhodiothornuses in there, and then I put that guy right on top there. Yeah, and so one of the things you can look at is, you know, like this has got a pretty nice leaf on it, but if you look underside, there's really not that big of a root system yet. You definitely want there to be a nice root system before you take a plant and try to put it into soil. When you water propagate, people are always saying, go for at least 1 inch of root before you, at the bare minimum, before you put it into soil, because there has to be enough roots there for it to, there has to be enough root system there for it to grow roots. I mean, for it to get the water when it was used to just having water. If you guys aren't aware, when a plant grows roots in water, they are actually a slightly different type of root than the ones that they grow when they're in soil. And the ones that they grow when they're in sphagnum moss are closer to the ones that they grow when they're in soil. And so they're slightly hardier roots. I don't know if hardier is even the right word. I'm ending up with a lot less space than I thought I was going to in these. That's okay. We'll figure it out. You live and you learn. You know, that's all this is. Taking care of plants is trying stuff, seeing what works, and then readjusting. Ha 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 ha, die, fungus gnats, die. Okay, so this is what we've got as our system now too. I guess I didn't show you guys this. These are the begonia propagations that I pulled out when the leaf kind of rotted. And as you can see, they're doing really well. They've got some nice adult looking leaves on a lot of them, and then these ones are tiny, but they're still growing. I think I only lost this guy. This guy just kind of rotted. Kind of tell. But that's fine. This one, which has, I accidentally broke off a piece of the Propagating Breakdance from an established plant. I put it in here, and now it's growing roots down in there. Like it was a whole node thing, so I put it in here. That's my little primulina, and then that's another leaf. I'm pretty sure that's a red kiss. It's starting to look like a red kiss. So those guys are just chilling out in there. And as you can see, the sphagnum moss in there is green. That's like an algae growing on there. Same thing that you get. I think it's the same thing you would get in like your fish tank. Like if you have a fish tank and then you get algae on there. I'm pretty sure it doesn't hurt anything. So I just kind of leave it in there. Anyway, so those are all that. There's all the taconites and the Brad's Halloween that I potted up. And so those guys are going to keep growing for a little while. And I will keep you guys updated. Okay, so I didn't start editing this video until after I had taped the stuff that you guys just most recently saw. And that was the point at which I realized that I was getting to over an hour's worth of content, and that was with trying to cut out a lot. Like, you'll see that toward the end there's a lot of, like, cuts where it's just... And that was me being like, okay, this video is going to be way too long if I keep going. So, I wanted to come back with a quick update. It's a couple of days later, and just kind of finish out this video, because I think I've done most of what I wanted to do for this video, which was basically show you guys how I started my propagation, show the process of how they grow, you know, like how long it takes for them to grow roots, how long it takes for them to grow leaves, and then transferring them out of your propagation and into. So the one thing that I did forget, and I really kind of kicking myself a little bit, is you have to remember that when they're in your propagation tray with your cover on there, there's a whole bunch of humidity in there. And so sometimes when you bring the propagations out, what they'll do is they will crisp around the edges because they're suddenly getting so much less humidity than they're used to. So all of that green, lighter green there are places where this leaf has just crisped up. It doesn't happen with all different varieties because this Brad's Halloween seems to be perfectly fine. Like, I'm not getting any crisping on this guy, he's just fine. I've never had any problems actually with my Propagating Breakdance, which has been very nice, but it's a thing that you want to be aware of. The tip that I would give for you for that is to take the tray and make it like lift it some so there's more airflow, but it's still kind of contained. Because then you kind of like, you lower the humidity in there, basically, and you get it closer to what they're going to have, you know, just out in your normal circumstances. And even then sometimes, like I said before, my Etnas, the begonia Etnas I have, those plants need to be established before you bring them out of the propagation humidity, because I've lost 2 or 3 plants already, like propagations I've tried to do, because they get out in the air and they're like... But if you don't have an Etna, I don't know. It's just a thing you're going to have to play around with. Like I said, you know, you get different... But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I know it's a little on the long side. If you like this video, go ahead and like it. Tell me if there's anything about propagating begonias that I missed in the videos that you would have liked to have known, and I can answer those in the comments, obviously, assuming I know. If you'd like to stick around for a little while longer and see what else I do, go ahead and subscribe. And like I said, thank you very much for watching this video. Thank you for spending some of your time with me. I will see you guys in the next video. Alright, bye-bye.